Hey guys, welcome to the UFC betting prediction channel, and I'm really excited about this weekend's fights. Before we get there, let's just talk about what happened the last week. So we made some good money on the Colby Covington fight, the Mackenzie Dern fight, and Chimaev fight. And I would have made way more money had the fight went to decision. I had end specific bet for that one, and with Woodley's injuries, my profits were kind of cut by 60%. I had big money riding there, but nevertheless, still a very profitable event. Now, coming to UFC 253, headlined by Adesanya versus Costa. Now, the three fights that I'm really looking forward to on the main card are Tuhugov versus Davidu, where they'll be fighting for a contendership status. Then the co-main event between Reyes and Blauwich, which is going to be a barn burner. Unless both fighters want to be counter-strikers. I don't see that as happening, and I feel that Reyes is going to come out guns blazing. And of course, the main event, Adesanya versus Paulo Costa, is perhaps one of the most intriguing fights in the middleweight history, with the punishing, unrelenting style of Paulo Costa and the finesse and precision of Adesanya. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So first fight on the main card, Hakeem Davidu versus Zubaira Tukhugov. Now, talking about Davidu. So Davidu is a 5 feet 8 inch guy with a big 73 inch reach, who has high output at 5.28 strikes landed per minute with a landing accuracy of 46%. His defense so far has been good, barring his one loss. He absorbs less than half the strikes he lands per minute at 2.31 with a defense of 64. So that's very impressive. Davidu likes to keep the fight on the feet and has not really attempted a serious takedown in the UFC. He has a takedown defense of 85%, which is pretty good too. He has a very efficient game, and he conserves his energy between his offensive output. Davidu has fast striking. He sets his strikes nicely, uses lead body shot and right hook on the chin very effectively. He mixes his strikes really well. Body shots, he has really good low leg kicks, effective high kicks. He knocked out Yoshiniro Hori with a front kick too. And he also uses kicks to the body to set up his attacks to the chin. It also helps him sap the energy of the opponents. Davidu has shown tendency to be hit by straight right hand from his orthodox opponents. Davidu's lonely defeat was a first round submission after getting dropped by a blistering straight right from Danny Henry in his UFC debut. Now, Kyle Bochniak landed a couple of double leg takedowns under Davidu's punch, but Davidu was able to scramble back up fairly quickly. The awkward circling and coming in and out blitz of Yoshiniro Hori gave Davidu some problems, but as the fight went on, his composure got him to come back in the second round and then dominate in the third round to finish the fight. Now let's talk about Tuhugov. Now Tuhugov has only a 68 inch reach while they are of the same height. His output is usually low with 2.58 strikes landed per minute with an accuracy of 38%. He absorbs about 2.07 strikes per minute with a 68% striking defense. Tuhugov mixes his striking with wrestling and completes about 56% of his takedowns at about 2.88 takedowns per fight. Now, nobody in the UFC has been able to take him down so far. You'd also notice that he started relying on his takedowns as the competition in the UFC started getting steeper. Tuhugov covers distance well and quickly, and the power of his shots of the opponent pretty much dictates how often he's going to dart in and out. Tuhugov catches kicks really well. He showed that against Nover Moicano, and Davidu throws a bunch of kicks. So Tuhugov can take him down or at least limit Dawodu's arsenal of attacks just by showing it as a threat. Tuhugov, as I mentioned, rushes forward and throws big hooks, overhand rights that have a lot of power. When he isn't doing that, he circles around and maintains a high work rate, even though his strikes thrown per minute and strikes landed per minute is not very high. He has a lot of movement, which causes him to fatigue in the later part of the second round and third round. Tuhugov has excellent finishing instincts, though. He showed that in his fight with a very durable Kevin Aguilar, where he hurt him with a left hook and then punished him on the ground. Tuhugov is hard to control on the ground and uses explosive bursts to get out of trouble. Tuhugov, due to his sideways stance, is prone to eating a lot of leg kicks, just as Moicano made him pay, and Dawodu can definitely take advantage of that. Now, summarizing the whole fight, Dawodu is a better, cleaner, and a more technical striker. Power could go either way, but Tuhugov throws a lot of haymakers. So long as Dawodu avoids them, he should be okay on the feet. However, fortunately for Tuhugov, he has top-notch wrestling in his back pocket, and he will most likely use it in this one. Dawodu has decent takedown defense, but Tuhugov will likely take him down. While he does that, it's imperative to Dawodu to ensure that he makes Tuhugov work for those takedowns so he can cash the benefits later by taxing on Tuhugov's cardio, which is a little suspect in the third round, especially in Abu Dhabi, where he's known to slow down. I see this as a very close decision, with Dawodu coming back later on. Question is, will that be enough? Now, the odds are perfect for this fight at Tuhugov at minus 125 and Dawodu at plus 100. Now, I see Dawodu winning by decision, especially considering that there is plus money in it. Now, the next fight is between Ketlen Vera and Sujara Eubanks. If you remember, we did a breakdown on Sujara Eubanks last time when she fought Julia Avila, and she kind of surprised me big time. However, let's talk about Ketlen Vera first. So Ketlen Vera is a really big girl for this weight class at 5'8", and she uses her size really effectively. She has the lower output of the two fighters at 2.74 lands per minute with a striking accuracy of 35%. He absorbs about 3.83 strikes per minute with a striking defense of 57%. She lands 2.03 takedowns every fight and has a takedown accuracy of 57%. However, her takedown defense is 92%, which I think will be the big differentiating factor in this fight. She was taken down by Sarah McMahon in the first round and was controlled for pretty much the whole round until she scrambled back and threatened with the knee bar. She was again taken down by Kat Zingano, but got right back up instantaneously. She took Kat Zingano down by a body lock, sweep takedown. She has judo throws that she uses to reverse takedown midair, and she has conventional takedowns coming from a Brazilian wrestling national team, that is. She's aggressive in the clinch and attacks with elbows and could get takedowns as well. She finished an arm triangle choke on Sarah McMahon while being on half guard on the opposite side, signifying her strength and her technique. Eubanks drives her double legs through the cage, but can be countered by hip toss, just like Ketlen did with Kat Zingano. So I think Ketlen will be able to take Sujara with the strength advantage and the technique that she has. Now, talking about Sujara is somewhat undersized for women's bantamweight division as she comes in at 5'4" inches. Her output and striking accuracy are much superior in this matchup. She lands 4.71 strikes a minute and with a striking accuracy of 42%. She absorbs about 3.14 strikes a minute and has a defense about 60%. Eubanks lands about 2.17 takedowns per 15 minutes with an accuracy of 48%. And the difference in this fight, the big difference I should say, is the takedown defense, which is fairly average at 61% as compared to 92% of Caitlin Vieira. Now, Eubanks is a much improved fighter after training with Mark Henry and company. Her cardio looked really good in her last fight against Avila. She was getting her head snapped in the fight, so she took the fight to the ground and secured a fairly easy decision. Now, Eubanks' output and boxing is really sharp, and she will look to keep this fight in the boxing range, because I think that's the only position where she would probably have a big advantage over Ketlin. Eubanks should try to stay away from the clinch, as Ketlin, being the taller and the more powerful fighter, can get clinch takedowns and control Eubanks on the ground. To summarize this, Eubanks is the more technical striker and can outbox Ketlin. However, Ketlin is long and uses her size really well to her advantage. I think Ketlin will try to take this fight to the ground if she starts to get outpointed on the feet. She has basic striking, but has power to ring her opponent's bell. There will be a strength advantage for Ketlin, and she will be probably the superior jiu-jitsu artist too. My pick for this one, Caitlin Vieira by decision. So the next fight is between Kai Kara-France versus Brandon Royval. Kara-France is 5'4" tall with a 69-inch reach. He trains at City Boxing in New Zealand, where Adesanya and Dan Hooker train out of. As most of Eugene Behrman trained fighters, Kai Kara-France believes in and-out movement with a lot of feints. He steps in with the right hand, then goes back to circling around the opponent, uses his jabs extensively, even when he's usually the shorter fighter. Kai Kara-France has got power for a flyweight. He floored De La Rosa in the second round and wobbled Marino in the first round. He throws powerful jabs, big overhand right, and he isn't afraid to swing for the fences. He usually has really good timing with his punches, and he's a slippery customer. He's hard to take down. He showed it with Rolling Pava and Mark De La Rosa. Kai shows a lot of movement and has the ability to land punches while retreating, and I think that's going to be really useful in this fight where Brandon Royval tries to push him aggressively. Overall, the techniques that he uses them with precision and finesse. Talking about Brandon Royval, he's 5'9" and extremely tall for this flyweight division, so about as tall as Woodley, but fighting 45 pounds lower. He's a very aggressive guy and usually gets it done with his jiu-jitsu, and has had 8 first-round finishes. He's a fast starter. He's used to finishing fights early, so hard to find a lot of tape where his fights go full 15 minutes. But he is extremely reckless in his attacks and can get easily caught by much more polished striker in Kara-France. He will have a reach advantage with most opponents in the flyweight division, but he doesn't fight in a way that utilizes his reach that well. He's often off balance after engaging in strikes with the opponents and kind of crashes on them. Royval has really good submission defense and really good submission game. And I think if the fight hits the ground, Royval will have an advantage, though Kai Kara-France's scrambling ability is really good too. So, in conclusion, this is going to be a fun fight. If the fight keeps standing, Kai Kara-France will piece Royval on the feet. Kara-France's strikes are very precise and have a fair bit of power. Royval, on the other hand, isn't the most polished striker and often leaves himself open to his opponent's strikes. Royval doesn't have the same kind of pressure that Brandon Moreno put on Kai to take over the second round and the third round. Things will get very interesting if Royal can get it to the ground, because he will look for submissions constantly. However, I feel that Kara France's takedown defense is fairly good, and the only way to take him down is when he throws a big overhand right and Royal can time that, or he hurts Kara France and takes. I have Kara France in this fight, but the odds are between minus 225 to minus 250, which is a little steep. But I think directly betting on Kara France or even going for Kara France by decision could be good bets here. Now the co-main event. So Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz. Now, Dominic Reyes is coming after an epic fight with Jon Jones where a lot of people thought he won. He's 6'4" with 77-inch reach, a very athletic and mobile light heavyweight who has amazing ability to generate power while moving back. He lands about 4.88 strikes a minute at an accuracy of 49%, which is extremely high output for a big guy like him. Reyes comes in fast and he tries to pressure you and throw combinations with high accuracy. He probably won the first 2 or 3 rounds, depending on how you score that fight, before losing the last 2. The biggest advantage that Reyes has in this fight is his counter-punching ability while moving backwards. Reyes throws really good combinations that includes very powerful body kicks. He also has really good low kicks, and that could be a really good weapon for him in the fight against Jean, who tends to eat leg kicks quite a bit. He has a great output for a big guy, but the volume wanes off fairly significantly. It happened in the OSP fight, happened in the Ozdemir fight, happened in the fight with Jon Jones. So this is something that we might have to look at. He has great takedown defense with really good balance. He was taken down by Ozdemir and OSP briefly, but he came back up pretty quickly. One of the reasons why he attacks so fearlessly is because he had really good takedown defense at about 82%. Even if you take him down, it's hard to keep him down, and that kind of reinforces the fact that he tends to be really aggressive. Now, talking about Blachowicz is coming off of a knockout win over Corey Anderson, and before that, he is coming off of a knockout win over Luke Rockhold. Now, Blachowicz is 6'2" with 78-inch reach, which is 1 inch more than Reyes, but I still think Reyes can move, with the frame that he has, will still have the advantage in the range. Blachowicz will be looking to allow Reyes to come to him rather than go after him. Blachowicz lands about 3.45 strikes a minute with an accuracy of 48%. He lands more takedown than Reyes, but his takedown defense is much lower than Reyes at 65%. Jean is very comfortable in both stances, and he would look to utilize the switch stances with Reyes in this fight. He's a very patient guy and a good counter striker. He usually lets his opponent pressure him and make them feel safe, and then suddenly he would just stop backing up and let the opponent come close to him, and that's when he'll strike with his powerful hooks. That's exactly how he knocked out Corey Anderson. Now, Blachowicz is good in the clinch. He landed a couple of framing elbows on Luke Rockhold. He also uses the exit in those clinch to set up hooks, and he used an amazing left hook to knock Luke Rockhold out. He has a really good ground game that is seldom on display. Blachowicz will have a significant advantage on the ground over Reyes. However, I don't see this reaching the ground till later rounds, if at all. Now, to summarize this is a closer fight than the odds will tell you. Reyes is definitely the more athletic, mobile, and the rangier guy, and he will start fast. He has the option to attack or be the counterpuncher. He has the athleticism to attack Jean and get out of the way with his speed advantage. However, Jean can't afford to get impatient and rush into Reyes like he did with Thiago Santos and ended up getting knocked out. As I mentioned before, Reyes has amazing pullback left straight that he used to drop OSP and Weidman, and he can totally do it to Yan if Jean pressures him recklessly. I don't see this fight hitting the mat unless one of the two fighters gets hurt, considering the stellar takedown defense of Reyes. Jean is an intelligent fighter and will fight this one patiently. I do think Reyes has about 55 to 60% chance of winning, and that translates to, the odds on Reyes is around minus 275, and that translates to 74%. So you can see there's a gap in value there. If we flip the coin, I definitely see some value on Jean coming in at plus 225, which translates about 30% probability, and I give him a probability of winning around 40 to 45%. I will try to stay away from betting on this one, but if you had to put a gun in my head, I'll put some money on Jan. Next one, the main event, and this will probably be one of the very few times where two undefeated fighters are fighting for the title. Now, Adesanya is a really tall, lanky guy with 6'4" height and an 80-inch reach. He is coming after a lackluster performance with Yoel Romero, where both of the counter punchers just kept staring at each other and did not fight. However, Adesanya switches his stances effortlessly and is dangerous in both stances. He's one of the fighters who has the best movement and who doesn't get tired while he's moving backwards. Adesanya throws a lot of feints but is very efficient with his movement. He doesn't move more than required, but uses his long torso to move away from the strikes. He also uses his head as a bait to draw attacks from his opponents. And Costa is one guy who would easily take the bait once he is hit. In my opinion, Adesanya will back up and deliberately give Costa false confidence to lure him into his counter-striking game. Adesanya watches every move of his opponents till the end, and he's able to do that by remaining extremely calm in firefights. Tavares didn't push the pace on Adesanya in their fight when Adesanya was just breaking out. Adesanya was comfortable at that pace and distance that he had. Adesanya has great sweeps in the clinch to drop his opponents. He's likely to use them with Costa if he tries to close the distance to buy some time and hurt Adesanya's body in the clinch. Adesanya has really good knees in the clinch and he throws them at awkward angles. You need to see the Derek Brunson fight and you can see how he brings his knee in an awkward angle to hit Brunson on his head. He has good ground game and scrambling ability. We saw that in Tavares fight, Brunson fight, and Gastelum fight. He grabs his hand while striking and then lands an elbow like that, which is an amazing technique. It could be really effective with Paulo Costa, considering their 8-inch reach differential. In the second round of the fight between Adesanya and Silva, Silva landed as many strikes on Adesanya as Adesanya did on Silva. And that happened when Silva put more pressure than usual. And the pressure is what Costa is excellent in coming up with. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. Gastelum gave Adesanya problems because of his light footwork, and he has an amazing hand-eye coordination. He moves his head quickly, and he has a lot of side-to-side movement to make his entries, and that's what troubled Adesanya, especially in the first part of the fight. Now, Costa usually walks in straight lines and attacks in straight lines. but has much more pressure than Gastelum. So we will see how that plays out. Adesanya shows real heart. He showed real heart and championship spirit in the fight against Gastelum after losing momentum in the 4th round, and he was coming into 2-2 while Gastelum had won the last round. So he did overcome adversity and showed the difference between the two fighters in the 5th round. Also in Whittaker's fight, Adesanya showed that he can what he can do in case you bum rush him, which Paulo Costa does on a fair bit of occasions. Now, talking about Costa, he's 6'1" with a 72-inch reach, and with an 8-inch reach differential, Costa would have to come inside Adesanya's long range to be effective. Costa brings relentless pressure. He moves forward until he feels gravely threatened. He has brutal body shots, and I think they're going to be extremely crucial. He has great body kick from both legs, depending on what stance the fighter he's fighting. He throws a power back kick at southpaws and a front leg roundhouse kick to the body of orthodox strikers. He doesn't really carry this one-punch knockout power, but his power accumulates over time. That, with the pressure along with the body punches, sap energy out of his opponents and wilts their will. However, that happened only in 3-round fights, and this is a 5-round fight, so there is a fair bit of uncertainty with this as well. Cejudo has been helping Costa for this fight, and Cejudo incorporated calf kicks for his mobile opponent in Dominic Cruz. So I think Costa will definitely try to utilize low calf kicks with Adesanya, because that part will be the closest to him to counter his movement. Costa was pretty flustered with Uriah Hall's jab in the 1st round of their fight. And even though Costa was pressuring him, it wasn't as effective, and he wasn't able to get past the jab for majority of the 1st round. Costa is effective when he corners his opponents against the cage and they stop moving. That's when he unloads his hooks to the body and the face. Hall was doing extremely well as long as the fight was taking place in the center of the octagon. But when they got close to the cage, the complexion of the fight completely changed. In Costa's fight with Romero, it kind of showed me a couple of things. Costa can take a punch and still come back strong, which is very important because Adesanya is definitely going to hit him multiple times. However, Costa started slowing down in the last part of the 2nd round, and Yoel was able to win the 3rd round convincingly. Now, in order to summarize, this is one of the most intriguing fights in the middleweight history and is dangerous for both fighters. Costa has crazy pressure, volume, and power that can break anyone. He uses body strikes and pressure to sap his opponent's power and their will. Adesanya had a hard fight against Gastelum, and a pretty easy one against Whittaker when both of them put pressure and lunge in. The difference between the two was that Kelvin used side-to-side movement to get in range early in their fight, while Whittaker was linear in his attacks. Costa does take linear routes and fits into Adesanya's counter-striking game perfectly. The fight is expected to be close early, but I think Adesanya will begin to pick Costa apart in the later rounds when he loses some of his gas and steam. I see this one, Adesanya taking it by TKO. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked it, please share, subscribe, like it, and I will see you next Thursday for the next weekend's breakdown. Bye-bye for now.